It's great to be with you. Thank you. You know, timing is everything. I wrote that piece, and it came out the very day that the debate that I was talking about between the proponents of appeasement of Iran and its strenuous opponents within the Bush administration was resolved. I'm sorry to say, in favor of the appeasers by the president. What I was trying to lay out there was really that there is a third approach, it seems to me, between trying to buy off what I call Islamo-fascists, a ruthless political ideology that dresses itself up as a religion, but at its core is really about power, not faith, and therefore is very unlikely to be appeased. That's sort of one option that we're now unfortunately going to experiment with again. The other option, which the president apparently shrank from, at least at the moment, was the idea of going to war with Iraq. But, with Iran, rather. But the third thing, the third option, if you will, I believe is something that if we were to take a page out of Ronald Reagan's playbook, offers a very different set of possibilities, namely that by working with the Iranian people, who hate this regime as much as we do, if not more, we could, I believe, bring about change in that regime, its downfall, ideally, that would make it much less threatening to us than it is currently, and that it certainly will become if we continue to legitimate it, and worse yet, we continue, as the appeasers would have us do, to give it various kinds of benefits, including access to even more money and trade and technology and the like. Well, the first and most important thing is I think, making it clear that you are aligned with them and not with their oppressors. This is one of the reasons why I think that many in Iran have been so supportive of the United States over the years. They have seen us in our previous stance of refusing to negotiate with the regime and willing to describe it as it is, an axis of evil, the president famously put it, of course, a couple of years ago. That's an important thing right there, the symbolism of establishing that we are with the people of Iran who do not wish to be governed by an Islamo-fascist totalitarian mullahocracy, who are not interested in supporting terror around the world, who are not bent on not only having but threatening the use of nuclear weapons against countries like Israel and, for that matter, perhaps the United States. I mean, these are the sorts of things that are symbolic, but I think are nonetheless very important. And beyond that, I think there are ways to communicate more directly with the people of Iran, including, by the way, enabling them to communicate more effectively with us. You know, one of the ideas that just seems to be a no-brainer would be to widely disseminate digital video cameras all over that country, and find ways, satellite telephones perhaps, as means by which those video images could be sent out of the country, so that the people of the West, most especially the people of the United States, would be able to see what this regime is doing to its own people, including the brutal suppression of demonstrations that happen frequently there. Again, manifestations of the antipathy of the people of Iran for their government. These are things that I think could both be empowering of the people of Iran and give them a greater degree of support across the board for both what I call political warfare and perhaps other means of bringing about regime change, as I say, that's in their interest as much as ours. Well, there's been some speculation for some time that Iran had actually gotten its hands on at least a couple of nuclear weapons from the old Soviet Union. And that may be the case, I don't know. What we do know is that the government of Iran will not be dissuaded from obtaining nuclear weapons in due course. And whether that means that they'll have them in a couple of months or maybe half a year or a year is anybody's guess at this point, outside of the closed circle of the mullahs. But what's for sure is that the arguments for trying to appease these people will not go away. They will only become more intense as there's more and more evidence that the Iranians have in fact acquired nuclear weapons. And the really frightening thing about this is there's, I think, little likelihood that the Iranian regime will simply try to use such capabilities as deterrence, but rather it will use them as instruments to wage war against its enemies. Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, has repeatedly talked about wiping Israel off the map. He's gotten less attention for another equally portentous statement, which is that he believes that a world without America is not only desirable, but it's achievable. Now, you put all that in the context of a government that subscribes to an exotic tradition within the Shiite faith of Islam that holds that a messianic figure they call the 12th Imam will be brought back to earth and usher in a golden Islamic age. But what it'll take to get him back is something akin to the apocalypse. And when you hear them saying that's what they're trying to do, and not only that, but Ahmadinejad says he thinks he can achieve that result, that return of the 12th Imam, within 2 years. You got to ask yourself, is this a regime that intends to use these weapons in ways that will create the apocalypse? Whether it brings back the Imam or not, I don't know, but it certainly can cause enormous death and destruction, and I think that's simply a chance we can't afford to take, not just we here in the United States, but this, what I call free world more generally. Well, I think there are a lot of people, certainly in this country, who would like us out of the Middle East and who are seemingly indifferent to what the implications might be for this country, to say nothing of our interests and security concerns elsewhere. But I think most of the people in the Middle East appreciate that what we are trying to do there